In this video, we're going to talk about how to master the innovation process. When people want to innovate, we want to look at, why do you want to innovate? Do you have something to say, or are you just saying something? I've heard that said lots of times. People sometimes just want to be in front of the camera. They just want to create something because they want people to see them. Versus you understanding the pain people are going through and having genuine solutions for them. The more that you are consuming, the more that you're understanding things, the more it's going to help you create ideas that really matter to the world. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in creating more noise. I'm interested in creating actual content that's going to help you. I want you to do the same. So let's look at this 5-step process. And I took some notes here that I'm going to look at. There's actually 5 different phases we're going to go over. It spells ideas. And just so you know what it is, it's intentional, design, experiment, activate, scale. All right, so in the intentional phase, what we want to do is we want to live a life that's intentional, that's focused, that we're paying attention, that we're noticing these micro moments. I remember when I was in 8th grade in the Boy Scouts, I've always had this ability, not always, I learned this ability to whistle really loud. And I'm in 8th grade, and we're at this Boy Scout camp in Florida, and there's this girl who's probably 16. And the other boys are like, hey, whistle at her. So I whistle, woo, woo. And she turns around and gives me the bird in front of all my friends. Now, the adult leaders, they heard the whistle, and my dad, who was one of them, came over. And he said, you need to go apologize to her. That's not the way that we treat girls in our family or in our troop. That's just not right. So I walked, it felt like, hundreds of yards over to this girl. And I said to her, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have whistled at you. And her chin was quivering. She said, the whole time that I've been here, I've been treated like a piece of meat. I've never whistled at another girl since then. That was that little micro moment that I had to notice as a boy who's just kind of entering puberty. Those are the kind of little moments that usually have kind of breadcrumbs towards the kind of person you're going to be. The same thing with our ideas. There's these little things that happen every day that give you clues as to people's pain, what they're dealing with, and maybe solutions for things that you haven't thought of. It's not usually these kind of light from the sky moments. It's usually these small little things that you test it out, it works, and then you say, well, that idea really could take off. So next we want to look at design. So how do we decide and design what's worth pursuing? We want to start just brainstorming. So often we sit down with a blank screen on a computer to write a blog post or to do something that just doesn't work. We want to be brainstorming. So that could be with Post-it notes on a wall. It could be with just a big blank sheet of paper. I love the big legal size ones. Maybe it's having a whiteboard. Usually that kind of tangible writing is better than just text. For some people, they go for a walk and they do an audio memo and then they transcribe it. In some way, allowing your brain to just design and observe, it's so effective when we're looking at creating new ideas. All right, so let's look at E, experiment. I talked in other videos about experimenting with your lifestyle design, but it's also really important to experiment with our big ideas. I launched this thing called Next Level Practice. My team with Practice of the Practice, we talked about how there weren't any really good membership communities that were out there that were really answering the question of how do you start and grow a practice under $100,000. And so we thought through that, but then I interviewed a bunch of people that were at that phase and said, here's the 3 questions. What's your experience been in starting a practice? What do you wish was out there that wasn't out there to help you with that? And how much would you have paid for that? And through that experiment and through that discussion, I realized that people wanted 3 things. They wanted kind of ongoing knowledge to help them learn things without having to search the internet and find everything. They wanted a sense of community that was more than just like a Facebook group. And they wanted some tools of the trade. So those are the 3 things that we initially offered with Next Level Practice. We gave it our best shot, and then we got feedback from the community that first signed up for it. So that was a way that we could test something out, see what people thought about it, and then adjust and change as we went. So when you're experimenting, you want to do something called the minimum viable product. So basically it's giving it a whirl. Give it your best shot, get feedback from the people that are consuming it and purchasing it, and then say, how can we make this better? So after that, we want to look at activate. So how do we put a little bit more energy into whatever big idea we're working on? So maybe it's that you want to launch a podcast. Well, you kind of reach out to some people, you have some good ideas. Maybe for you to activate, it's reaching out to other podcasters to see if you can talk about your specialty on there, to give actual value, not selling something, but to give actual value around the thing that you're an expert in. And so that's where the consuming lots of information, to be able to say, oh, there was this NPR article that talked about this, and then there was also this scientific research here, and you've curated the information so that you can do something that's unique. All right, so we're gonna then kind of activate that. We're gonna give it a whirl. For me, that was signing up for swim lessons. I've been a bad swimmer for a while. And so to actually activate and sign up for swim lessons, go for it, and then swim somewhat on a regular basis, that was something that I gave a whirl. I don't know that I'm going to be a lifelong swimmer where I do that competitively, but for me that was something I wanted to overcome this year. Same thing might be true for you. You might have personal goals or professional goals. We want to activate that and give that a little bit more kind of oomph for what we're trying to do. And then last, we want to scale. If we're talking about ideas in a business, you shouldn't be running your ideas after you launch them as much as you can, because we want to hand that off to someone else to sustain it. We really want to have that be sustained by someone else so that it can scale beyond you. If you came up with one great idea, you probably have 10 more that you should be experimenting on. We want to have the best use of your time as an innovator be used on innovation, not on sustaining. I have lots more ideas for you. I interview a ton of great guests. We have podcasts that are at least weekly. Sometimes I do 3 or 4 a week if I feel really inspired. The link right here is going to take you over to that podcast. I would absolutely love for you to hang out with me and the guests, come listen to the podcasts, learn about how to grow a practice, but even more importantly, learn how to have a good life. Learn how to have a business that reflects the values that you want and the kind of lifestyle that you want as well. I'll see you over there, and I'll talk to you soon.